Good morning, FOR 242, and welcome to your last week of classes. Congratulations, you made it. What I'm going to send you off into your summers with is a particular kind of georeferenced map. You're looking at an example now. This is a wide-scale map for navigation throughout the North Main Woods. The map itself I downloaded from the North Main Woods website, and I georeferenced it. Which means I took this image and lined this grid of townships up, said this point is this location, compared that to a map, snapped that into place, and now when you load this into Avenza Maps, the little dot that is you will go down the Realty Road and off you go into the North Main Woods, and I will provide this map to you through Brightspace. This is for reference only. We've used this for a couple of years. It's pretty good, but reference only, no warranty expressed or implied, but if it's useful to you, all the better. The key feature of a map like this is that it's huge. This is 110 inches this way and 80 inches this way. It's a massive map layout and it doesn't look like much at this scale, but if we zoom into 100% and look at this as we would see it once it's loaded into Avenza, we can see every little bit of detail on here, including my own GPS track. This map is a bit out of date. It's a very good map for getting all these place names and a lot of the roads, but like this one, this connects now, and I've driven it, and it's very nice. Likewise here, I have a special interest and appreciation for connector roads, and this is one of them, where this connection here allows you to get from the Realty Road down to Ross Mountain Road in a big ol' hurry. So do take these lines with a grain of salt, but we don't want to let the perfect get in the way of the good. And this is a very good resource for showing you where you are, what township you're in, what the name of that stream is, and where in that township you are, and if you are or are not on the Realty Road. Once you're on the Realty Road, keep going that way, you're out. Go that way, you're in Canada. Go to Clayton Lake, there's a large camp there, you can get help if you need it. Including, if memory serves, a ranger station right around here somewhere. Looking at the key, yes, that's exactly what that means. You'll also notice this map gives you some contour lines. Pretty rough, but it'll tell you if there's a mountain between here and there. So altogether, a very good and useful resource. Just remember that some of the lines might be out of date. And with a map that shows the entire area where you might be potentially working, you can create place marks, you can plot photos, you can make your own tracks, sort of the breadcrumbs of where your GPS point has been. But say you're working somewhere other than the North Main Woods. Your final assignment here is to make a map of some wide area. Could be the North Main Woods, could be your wherever you plan to work this summer, could be anything you're choosing, but it's going to be major lakes, major rivers, public roads, town boundaries, label the big features. Alright, so I'll be providing this data set, or these 4 data sets and maybe more, in the Brightspace. But let's go ahead and start with Main Townships, double click, and accept this transformation to UTM Zone 19 North, EPSG 26919. Now the first thing we're going to do is remove the color. We want to simplify this map because color takes up storage space. We've got to make this thing simple because that makes it light. So double click on the color swatch and then let's go ahead to the symbology, simple fill, fill style, no brush. We'll keep the black line for now, apply. And while we're in here, let's add the labels. We want to know what town we're in. If somebody gets hurt, if something should happen, you need to be able to say, yeah, I'm in the northwest corner of T10R9. Instead of saying I'm in the northwest corner of this square township that looks like every other square township nearby. So the labels. Instead of no labels, single label, and town. And we're going to make this tiny. Let's try size 3, apply, and okay, well, let's see. No, let's go down to 2. Apply. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that, see how it looks. And that may or may not work out, so let's find out. Project, new print layout, mega map. Okay. And remember to change this map, right-click and page properties. We can change our orientation here to portrait. All that does is flip it around. Now let's see if we can just change the size here by typing it in. 2,540 millimeters makes 100 inches. And 2,032, thank you, makes 80 inches. So this is now the size and shape of the North Main Woods wall map. You'll go ahead and use whatever size makes sense to you. But for now, let's go ahead and add map, and just like before, snap to the corner. Want to use the whole page here, there's no point in a margin for an Avenza map. And let's change the scale here so we're zoomed well out. Alright, that's well and good. But let's say that we're going to work down east. So let's try a scale of 100,000. And let's try again for 75,000, just working our way in here. Let's just say we're going to work in that area. And that looks gorgeous, so we'll go ahead with that. So let's try it out and see how our labels look. Export as PDF, megamap, save. And create geospatial PDF, of course, and save. That'll take a minute. And here it is. So file size is 4,000 kilobytes, so 4 megabytes, and at 100% zoom, that looks ridiculously small. So let's try again. Back to our labels, let's try size 8, see how that works. Okay. Hit refresh if you need to, but now we can at least see our labels. So layout, export as PDF, megamap, replace, create geospatial PDF, and save. Zoomed all the way out, it doesn't look like much, but if we zoom into 100%, which is the scale at which you plan to be using it, that looks pretty alright. So that's good, but it could be better. Let's go ahead and try size 12 and set some opacity on that. So if there's a feature underneath it, it can shine through. Instead of trying to have a small, unobtrusive label, make the label a little bit bigger. But if something overlaps, give it a chance to get through. Okay. Back to the map, refresh to make sure it's loaded up, and export as PDF, save, replace, and save. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't really see the transparency on this, but I might change it once I get some more layers in. So far so good. We've got our townships layer in. Now let's add the water bodies. So National Hydrological Dataset water bodies, click to state, and likewise we want to make that not green or any other color. Let's go ahead into this and into symbology, simple fill, and no brush. And for our lakes, let's go ahead and make that a dotted line. Apply, OK. Now I already feel like I'm going to want these lakes to be in blue, because of course, water. But I want to see how much this adds to the file size, so let's go ahead and try it out in black and white first. Update map preview again, and export as PDF. We were at right about 5 megabytes before, and yes, replace it, and save. And that's brought us from 5 megabytes to 16. And it does look nice, but this is starting to get sort of expensive on the old processing here. So you might have noticed there's a lot of very small ponds in here, and that's not really useful for what we're doing. So I'm creating a new field for hectares, so area in square meters divided by 10,000. Preview looks good. Okay, that'll take a minute. Computer goes brrr, ding! And now we have hectares. So now we select by size. Select by attributes, where hectares, if I can spell it, hectares is less than 5. Select features. So that has selected every pond in here that is less than 5 hectares, and that button there makes them go away. Now say we don't like that exactly. Right click and toggle editing, and discard the changes brings them all back. We can do better than this, because we know that a great pond is defined as 10 acres or larger, and that has some special legal meaning. So now let's go ahead and open the field calculator and call this acres and make it a decimal number or real. $area times conversion factor from square meters to acres. Okay. The computer finishes thinking, and now we have acres, and now we can select by acres, less than 10. Select features. And now I can delete anything that does not meet the definition of a great pond. Goodbye. And now when I right click and toggle editing and I hit save, that is made permanent. So you won't have to do that. I just modified the data set that I'm going to upload, so you can skip that step, but just know that's what you have. And now Megamap is down to 10 megabytes, so much better than it was. Now let's see about blue. So if we double click on that and go to simple fill, we can make the stroke color a nice shade of blue. Apply. Okay. And that did almost nothing to our file size, so we can go ahead with blue. Now if you look at the attribute table, you see a lot of these have names. So let's go ahead and add a label for this GNIS name and see how much that adds. Double click or right click Properties, Labels, No Labels to Single Labels, and Name is default there. And let's go ahead and make sure that we have a shade of blue for those labels. And let's make this pretty small and unobtrusive, so size 6. And it looks like a lot here, but remember this has almost nothing to do with the size that the labels are going to be when it's viewed at 100% on the exported PDF. The labels added 2 megabytes at this scale. Let's see what we get for it. So zoom into 100%, and every one of these has a label, and those labels really don't look bad. So a little bit of overlap there, that's okay. We could, if we wanted to be really creative about it, set some transparency on those borders, and then the labels themselves would stand out a bit more against them. Let's go ahead and try that. So into the Properties, Labels, and just change the opacity, not of the labels, that's not what we want. We want to go into the Symbology, Simple Fill, Stroke Color, and this is where we set the transparency here. So we're going to set the transparency of the feature and keep the label perfectly solid. So we'll go with, let's shoot for about 60% there, okay. So that sort of works. I had to turn the transparency up a bit more, but it doubled the file size, so I don't like that well enough to keep that. What I'm going to try next is making this a thinner line, but not transparent. So the transparency seems to be costly in terms of memory. So back to full solid color, and let's just turn that down a bit, and maybe not that much, so maybe 0.16. Let's give that a shot. Okay. And that looks okay. Let's try a lighter color. That's getting close, but maybe too light. I think this is going to be it, so I'm going with the original thickness and that color. Okay. I think that's the one. So that's the original thickness, a lighter but not too light blue, and that makes the label stand out pretty well. Now roads. Main DOT public roads. Drag and drop in, or you can also double click here. Now if you look at the attribute table of the main DOT public roads, we will see, once it loads, please and thank you, that we have some federal function types, jurisdiction, abbreviated jurisdiction, town name, town code, county, and finally priority. 1 being higher and 6 being lower. And that's the layer I want to categorize by, so the higher priority or larger roads have a darker symbol. So either double click or right click and Properties, and then to Symbology, and instead of single symbol, I'm going to use this drop down here and go to Categorized. And we have a value drop down here, and we need to use that to go find our priority field, and then classify. And now we can change each one of those, and don't ask me why there's no 5. So priority 1, that's pretty much your Highway 95. We can change our simple line into a nice bright red, good for a highway, and let's make that a touch thicker. And because there's only a few roads like that, I don't feel bad about using about the same color, or exactly the same color, for our category 2. Category 3, I'm going to make a black and use the same weight. So, okay to that. 4, I'm also going to make black, but I'm going to make that a touch thinner. So change that from 0.26 to, well, let's just try 0.6 and see how that works. And then category 6, I'm going to change that to a bit of a gray. And instead of a solid line, I'm going to make that a dotted line. Okay. And all other values, well, let's just leave that green. And then anything that doesn't have one of those categories can stand out and we can wonder what it is. Okay. Now megamap is 27.5 megabytes, getting very mega now. And that has to do with all these lines that have been added. Now, it was a priority for me before to make this map small enough to email without being attached as a Google Drive link. I wanted it under 25 megabytes. If that remains a priority, you can change the size of the map. So you just change it from 110 inches tall to try 90 inches tall until the map fits. But now I can see the highway, all these major and minor roads. I can even see the on and off ramps there. And of course we have our towns and our town labels. What we do not have is the woods roads. DOT doesn't maintain those, so of course it's not in their dataset. Let's go ahead and add a new road based on the air photo. We can't include the air photo itself because that would take this from 27 megabytes to maybe 27 gigabytes at this scale. But we can use the air photo to tell us how to get to Upper Misery Pond, because why wouldn't we want to go to Upper Misery Pond? And then turn the air photo back off and just keep the line that we created based on the air photo. So let's go ahead and use our Google satellite image. We've added this before, and we can just double click and add it again. And let's go ahead and drag that to the bottom there so we can see where we are. And now let's figure out how to get there from here. So that looks like a pretty nice road going by Upper Misery Pond there, and that is our, looks like our best access. So let's go ahead and zoom in on that. On week 14, go ahead and right-click, New Shapefile. We're going to call this Upper Misery Road. Hopefully not the road you're on now, and change that geometry type to line, and change WGS 84 to UTM Zone 19 North. Don't really need anything else, so okay. And now double click to add Upper Misery Road to our layers, and then right click and toggle editing. May have noticed that made that available, so go ahead and click on Add Line Feature, one click to start, and then as you've done before, click, click, click. I'm going to use the arrow keys to move around while I'm still editing here. And I can just follow along that road. Doesn't have to be too terribly precise for this, because, well, our GPS will be on this. As long as we're not going by an intersection here, it can be sort of approximate. But you want to get very precise when you get up to an intersection because you wouldn't want to make the wrong turn. So here we are, we're going along here. Just be quick about this, going around that curve. And of course you can make this as precise as it needs to be for your task. If you're just sort of pointing a direction of this is the one road, then there you go. Make sure we're precise going around that bend so we don't take the wrong turn. And here we go. Road straight again, and then right click to finish. Don't need to add any attributes, so just hit OK. And let's go ahead, right click and toggle editing and save our edits. Now that's going to be our sort of main access road for our day's work, so let's go ahead and make that a nice obvious color. So let's just say green means go, and make that a bit of a thicker line. So we know that's the one we're going for. Then we can uncheck Google Satellite and export the map again. And of course, I demonstrated a road that's not actually on the map area that I was working in. So let's go ahead and try that again. Let's go to Aurora and Lower Middle Branch Pond. So there's our Google Satellite, and that looks like the way in. So let's go ahead. Which one of those? Let's go this one. This one looks like the nicer road. And I'll just use the same shapefile here, so right-click and toggle editing, and that turns on our Add Line Feature tool. So just like before. before. One click to start. Really no other option to get confused on as you drive along here, so we'll go kind of quick about it. Make sure we're going precisely around those intersections. And that looks like about as close as we're going to get to Lower Middle Branch Pond. So right click to finish, OK, and now we can uncheck Google Satellite and then pop back over to our export. But first, right click and toggle editing, saving the edits. Now back to export and fast forward through all of this. Replace Megamap one more time. So now that I actually put the line on the area where I'm making the map, it shows up pretty well. So all the way to 100%, and that is how you can add a line representing a road using an air photo without being able to display the air photo itself. So just a little bit of office work, giving you that benefit that there's no data layer out there that represents every woods road. Every forestry company has a layer of its own roads, or the roads that it's responsible for maintaining, but nobody's put them all together because they're all, of course, under lock and key. But with just a few minutes of air photo interpretation, you can get the line you need. And finally, I think you've been here before, but if you search for the main GeoLibrary, main.gov, that will take you to a place where you can go under Data, GeoLibrary Data Catalog. And you can find all sorts of interesting data sets that you can then download. If that's eelgrass, wetlands, that's a very large layer, but pretty cool. Shorebird, significant vernal pools that have been mapped. That doesn't mean it's all significant vernal pools that actually exist, but all of the ones that have been mapped are there. Boundaries, county lines, census from various years. Variety of options for elevation, above and below water. Let's try this one because it's always a good priority, and the main boat launches GeoLibrary is different from the main boat launches E911. I prefer this one. So let's go ahead and download this shapefile. As always, extract all and send to a location of your choice. And now we have boat launches, so we can double click there. And there's one on Middle Lead Mountain Pond, but let's go ahead and change the symbology. Double click, simple marker. And let's just go ahead and make that blue because water, and let's just make it a touch bigger. Okay, and now let's just make sure we know where the road is to get there, and that'll mean Google Satellite. And right click, toggle editing, create a line off, see that dashed line? So there's already there in the main DOT layer. And click, click, click. And that'll just show us the way once that air photo has gone away. And that is that. So that's in place. Right click, toggle editing, save, and uncheck Google Satellite. And now let's go ahead and export that again. And by the way, if you get this warning, could not create print device, the problem is that you still have this open. You need to close it before you can overwrite it. So now we can go ahead, overwrite, save. And now Megamap has boat launches and a road to the one boat launch we plan to go to. So there's your last assignment. Make your own Megamap for wherever you plan to work or play this summer. One map of fairly large size, it can be as big as one of these, can be zoomed in on just a couple of townships, whatever suits your needs. Explore the main GeoLibrary catalog, add in some sort of data layer that looks interesting to you, and just go ahead and make a map that looks a lot like this one. And go ahead and practice making a new line to represent a road that's not in the main DOT roads layer. All of the videos for this course are hosted on the UMFK Forestry YouTube page where you'll have access to them forever. If you make a comment on one of those videos, it goes straight to my cell phone. Don't hesitate to reach out. I hope you all have a great summer. I know I'll see some of you in chainsaw class this fall or otherwise around campus. Until then, good luck for now.